My name is Chikande Brown. This is my persuasive speech. The title is Bullying, the Prevention of Bullying, an obligation we all must meet. We have all been there before, in that position as either the child being spoken to or as the adult who is doing the speaking. We have all heard these words. It's just kids being kids. Not unlike many of you, I too can recall when I cried to a parent, to a teacher, or to an older sibling about some kid who just wouldn't stop teasing me, who just wouldn't stop picking on me. And being no different than many of you, I too was told to just ignore them or to just walk away or to stand up and fight back for myself. I did. And today I stand before you an adult, a survivor of being bullied. But in truth, I cannot deny that such events in my life did not alter my psyche, that they did not affect my view of myself. For instance, I am quite self-conscious about speaking in front of others, particularly strangers, people that I don't know. This could be the result of children laughing when I would say words that began with the letter S. And even though I spent years in speech therapy to correct this, I am still aware of this flaw. As an adult, I admit that I stand before you, and inside I am afraid that at any moment my lisp may reappear, and that one of you, that all of you, will secretly laugh at me. I am not alone in feeling this way. Many of us have found ourselves criticizing something about ourselves simply because another person once made fun of it. As an adolescent, I remember how much I hated the sound of my own voice. And now I look back over my childhood and I realize that the constant teasing I endured from my peers for having a raspy voice did have a long-term effect on me. As an adult, I now see that kids just being kids. I now see that bullying behaviors in any form can alter the images of one's self. It can alter it negatively. Over time, what you and I have known as bullying has evolved. It's changed. It has grown cruder in nature, and the consequences have become more dire. In March of 2011, USA Today reported that the White House held a day-long conference focusing on the prevention of bullying. President Obama, community leaders, and other government officials exchanged ideas about how to dispel common beliefs about bullying, such as it being a rite of passage in the lives of children. There were talks about combining efforts in order to prevent continued occurrences of bullying. Arne Duncan, the Education Secretary for the United States Department of Education, stated that there are some cases of bullying that can be prosecuted under federal anti-discrimination laws. He spoke about a website, stopbullying.gov, which informs school districts about the laws and the remedies governing bullying incidents. In February of 2012, the great state of Texas began its own anti-bullying campaign, and other states and school districts have followed since. This was in response to the increased violence resulting from bullying in schools and on social media websites. Texas, like many other states, is attempting to partnership with Facebook in an effort to stress the need for bullying prevention programs. Bullying and the repercussions that follow its occurrences are on the rise. Our government is aware of this. $14.5 million has been set aside to be used on anti-bullying campaigns. As well, there is an additional $4 million available for new initiatives to be implemented. Bullying in educational settings and cyberbullying have been the causes behind such tragedies as the Columbine and Chardon high school shootings. Researchers conducting studies in both early child and adolescent educational arenas have shown that more than 12% of kindergartners have either bullied or been the victims of bullying. And at least 59% of high school students acknowledge that they've been bullied while both in school as well as online. Cyberbullying is defined as the repeated attempts to negatively target another person via electronic media, through text, emails, instant messages, and social websites like Facebook and MySpace. This form of bullying has evolved with the heightened use of technology, says Dr. Gwen O'Keefe, author of Cybersafe. Noting that at least 31% of all teenagers admit to gossiping negatively about another peer online, and that most youths don't realize that cyberbullying can result in legal consequences, as law enforcement can track all online activities. Bullying comes in many forms, and studies have proven that the most common form of bullying is outcasting, the exclusion from peer relationships. While the victims of bullying may differ in their bullying experiences they've encountered, the impact of being bullied is a shared commonality among victims. Victims of both school and or cyberbullying all exhibit signs of psychological distress. Mary Wakefield of the United States Department of Health and Human Services says that bullying has an adverse effect on the mental health, the academic success, and the interpersonal relationship of its victims. These lasting emotional consequences lead to increased suicides and homicides among our youth. Kirk Smalley, like many other parents, can unfortunately attest to what Wakefield says. Smalley's stepson committed suicide by shooting himself in the head after being subjected to months on months of bullying while at school. And while not all victims of bullying are suicidal, studies show that victims still exhibit elevated levels of stress, which can lead to self-injury, if not suicide. The Herald Sun newspaper reported on the deaths of 2 Texas teenagers in February of 2012. The suicides of both Catherine Bernard, age 17, and Shanaz Erkin, age 14, were the results of bullying that each endured at schools and on Facebook. These are the examples of the dire consequences bullying can have on the victims, the perpetrators, and the community in a whole. The ability for us to identify the signs of bullying is crucial and necessary to prevent bullying from continuing, says psychologist Butch Losey, who along with psychologist Susan Graham developed BLISS, Bullying Lethality Identification System. This is a screening method used to assess the risk of suicides and threats of violence that result from bullying behaviors. We as adults, we as parents should be concerned for our youth, and the prevention of bullying is a requirement we should each undertake in an effort to aid our youth in their developmental progression. Start by being aware of the bullying signs. Look for signs of depression. Look for signs of violence. Victims, they will also exhibit physical symptoms such as insomnia and headaches, and bouts of fear and anxiety attacks. They are also key signs and key warnings of bullying occurrences. It is absurd that such psychological distresses have become common ailments for today's youth. Is that what kids just being kids has come to? I say no. I say that each of us is obligated as adults, just being adults, to stand up for those children who are too afraid to stand up for themselves. Children should not have to just ignore it. They should not have to learn to live with it. It is our place to protect our youth and thus protect ourselves. It is our duty to prevent anything that threatens the survival of our children. It is our duty to prevent bullying. Save our children. Thank you.